Yes, there we go. All right, you should have received an email this week about the Creator Studio and the Create Studio Academy, and that is basically a video program. I have purchased it, but I have not had time to open it or spend very much time with it. But I do want to share with you, and I'm gonna stop sharing this screen. I'm gonna go to the other screen. I'm gonna show you what is there and how you can start and get access to that. I think this is, excuse me, I think this is a really good opportunity to be able to maybe address something that would be helpful in helping you to create video. Lots of people do not want to be on video. And I think probably the biggest hindrance that people have of creating video is three things. Number one, they don't know what to say. Number two, they don't want to be on the video screen. And number three, they don't have the tools to make it look awesome. So all of those things were pretty much eliminated. Are we seeing that? You're not seeing my screen yet, are you? All of those were pretty much eliminated. There we go. There we go. All of those were pretty much eliminated with the Creator Studio. All right. So what you'll find here, and this is a really nice page to help you to see what's going on. If you haven't picked this up yet, I'd kind of encourage you to do that if you're interested in creating video at all. Please help me with this. Don't buy this if you're not interested in purchasing, if you're not interested in creating video. I mean, I answer this question for people all the time. Should I get this? Do you plan to do this? No, I don't. Okay, then don't get it. But if you do, then this is something that you really want to take careful consideration, particularly if you have something that is that you fit in one of those three categories. You don't want to be on the screen, you don't know what to say, or you don't you don't have the tools that are necessary in order to be successful in creating a nice looking video. So this is what we have right here with Create Studio. So let me go through this rather quickly. Very nice video here. I'm not going to play the video for you, but it's a very nice video giving a clear explanation as to what Create Studio Academy is. And typical for all of the things that we do at Usign is that we also put some extraordinary bonuses together for you. This Create Studio Academy being one of them. And when you see right here, you start with coming up with a script, scenario for your videos. Do you wish to have an easier way to produce the high impact explainer videos in a couple of hours instead of spending a couple of days on it? And like I said, if you fit in one of those three categories, you don't know what to put in a video, you don't want to be on the video, or if you don't have the tools that are necessary to put it together, this is a great tool to help you to be able to do that. Okay. But just a really nice page here. I'm going to try to give you some insight into the things that you'll access when you have this. You'll discover how to define your audience. You get a proven explainer video script tested with dozens of niches. This is going to be helpful to you as well. So if you're looking for something in this space, this is a great way to do this. Okay. Got over 60 minutes of training, 6 videos. Giving you a script, giving you customer research, script examples, those kinds of things. So I think you'll find this to be extremely helpful. Sometimes cheesy looks really cool. And this guy right here, I really like because he's kind of a cheesy looking, cool looking dude. This is what happens when, some of you will catch this, when Grizzly Adams meets Cheech Marin. That's what you end up looking like. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. There's lots of bonuses included in this. I knew somebody would get that. Thank you, Dawn. Then you also have included in that, one of the bonuses is create leads. And another one, we'll go through these bonuses real quickly. Create studio agency website, which allows you to be able to create a website that will send you leads 24/7. Again, you got to send traffic to it, but that's the secret to making that happen. Turn visitors into customers. Kind of a cool way of creating action right here. Video marketing. This is something that will be extremely helpful to you to have the video marketing tools that you need in order to make this work. There are a few upsells, Rob. I'm not going to get into the upsells. I'm not even going to get into the sales page. You'll just have to go through the funnels yourself. Always encourage people to go through the funnel. Don't just jump right out of it. Go through the funnel. Find out what you're doing. There's always reasons for a funnel. And the reasons for the funnel is that you may have 4 upsells, but one of the upsells is something that you definitely want to do, and one of the upsells is something that you would never consider doing. And so always look carefully at the funnels. It's not just a way to get you to spend more money. It's a way to get you introduced to a product so that you can do more. I've liked, honestly, Rob, I've liked the audio. So the audio does seem very realistic. So, but easy ways to get that and try it out. Animated characters, you get 8 animated characters. I love this little chef dude right here. Pretty awesome. So then you also get the client booster explainer templates. So you have some templates to go with that. I really enjoyed the video. I would encourage you all to watch the video. Don't do it while I'm doing the webinar this morning, but when you get finished off of this webinar, hopefully you've already opened that up and have it sitting on a browser tab so that you can access that and find out what's going on. I thought that the audio that I heard was very realistic, Rob. But don't do it now. Wait until you get finished with this webinar this morning, okay? Video transitions. A lot of time, these are little things that set your videos apart. And this is one of those things that will make that work out very, very well. Soundtracks always come up interesting. I have a friend who uses a soundtrack on his on one of his Facebook lives, and it gets tagged every single time that it's copyrighted. And you don't want to have that happen to you. You don't want to have that happen to you on YouTube either. Stock images and videos, you get 200 of those. So it's a pretty healthy bonus. Custom icons that are in a vector format. You get additional emojis. Quite a bundle of product that's here. And then also, this is kind of cool. There's a lot of sites besides YouTube, and it's good to kind of have an understanding what those sites are and where you can get to them and how you can access them so that you can put stuff in those places and utilize the syndication of your video. All right, check it out when we get finished today. But make sure that you use that link that I sent to you. Open that up. Yeah, I knew somebody would catch that. So did I. Yeah, I don't think, you know, it kind of reminds me of the play the radio and the record player comment. But open that up, check it out. Check it out when we get finished this morning. I think you'll find it to have some things in it that can be very beneficial to you if you're interested in creating video and doing video promotion of your goods and services. All right. Let me switch my screen back to the agenda that we have here. But I did want to give you just a little introduction to that, let you know that that's available as of right now. But I think that expires in about a day or so. So there's a countdown timer there. Take a look at the countdown timer, and but check it out here at getmartinsbonus.com/create studio. Okay. All right. Let me get rid of something that's in my way here. The next thing, now let's go to Usein, okay? Just a little opportunity for you if that's something, if you fit in one of those 3 categories I mentioned before, you want to use video, but you don't want to be on the video, you're not exactly sure what to do, or you need the tools that are required in order to make professional looking videos, then you will have that with the Create Studio, okay? Now, back to Usein. This was an image that was posted by Emma, and I thought it was pretty cool. I thought she did a great job of this. This was that reflection project that we worked on last week and the week before. So I thought this was really cool. I played with it. I took her image and I played with it just a little bit. Just a little bit. I took her image right here, and this is my image right here. And I'm going to ask you right now, in this particular time, what did I do differently on this side over here that made it look different than this one over here? Now, I'm not going to ask you which one looks better because that's a totally personal opinion. All right? That's not the point of this. But I did a couple of things to this that I want to make sure that you understand the value of because it's going to make a big, big difference in how things turn out. Okay? I'm looking at all the comments here. Some are saying blurred, darkened the reflection, reduced the opacity, used an overlay. Yes to all of the above, but all in the span of about 15 seconds. And so I'm going to show you, she struggled a little bit, and she mentioned this in there. How do I get more of a water look to the down part of this? When you have a reflection like that, there's some things that you have to do in the reflection that are different than in your actual image, okay? So we'll play with this. I'll show you what it is that I did, and I think you'll find this a really, really cool tip and technique, and I think it'll be helpful to you. But I appreciate Em sharing that with us, and I know that she won't mind if we share this this as well in the group. So I'm gonna show you how this is arrived at. I don't have the original image. I don't even know where she got that from. She may have gotten it on Pixabay, but this was really good. She did a great job with this. Don't misunderstand. I just wanted to play with it just a little bit, see if I can show you a couple of cool techniques with it, and see if it makes it look any different or makes it look better. Is a terrible term, and I don't like that. This is Rose posted this for Mother's Day. I thought this was so cool. Now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about this, though. Number one, I think her little boy Jared is about the cutest thing on the planet. And he has these cute little expressions, and that's just awesome. I love it. But how did Rose arrive at this image right here? How did they get that? Anybody know? Because this was added, the Happy Mama's Day was added. Rose did not write that with a marker. The emoji was added, but so was all of this. These are all added overlays. They're all laid on top of the image, but just took a picture with a blank art pad, then added the lettering to the art pad and the emoji, added these other things around the outside of it. And I just thought that's a great example of what you can do. You can take just the image alone, and then you can doctor it up just a little bit. I think this made an awesome look. I thought this was really cool. How Jared's holding that says Happy Mama's Day, and but it doesn't say Happy Mama's Day. It's just a blank canvas, and so it was really easy to create that. Yes, the kitty in the background is kind of awesome. That look is pretty cool. Okay, next thing from the group. Again, one more time. Always make sure that you use the search tool in the group. Before you post a question, you may find the answer to it already. but there's a lot of stuff in the group that will be very, very helpful to you if you'll learn to use this search feature. And unfortunately, most people don't even know that it's there. So this allows you to search the history in the group and be able to find answers that have come up to other questions. And yes, they do save you a lot of time. This is huge. And this question gets answered a lot. And so before you ask the question, search the group. You'll be amazed at how much information that you'll find and that will help you to do that. The other thing has to do with this, with the update on the latest version of Mac operating system, which created a problem for me that I haven't fixed yet. And but the instructions for how to fix that are right here. So let me grab this link. And I'll put this in here for anyone who needs it, including me, who needs it. And that will give you the instructions for how to fix this and what to do. Because what's happening is Adobe Air gets blocked, believe it or not, gets blocked by the Mac operating system that creates problems. Now I want to take a really, really sharp left turn. I'm going to ask you, where do you get your creativity or your creative inspiration from? Where does that come from? This morning, when I was getting ready to put these notes together, and I grabbed this image, I was going to drop this in here. And I noticed that in my live feed history, and I do several live feeds a week, in my live feed history came up an live feed that I did 3 years ago on creativity. So apparently this must be the time of the year when you talk about creative inspiration. Workshop jigs and fixtures and making woodworking aids and devices has absolutely nothing to do with what I do every day. It has in the past, but has nothing to do with what I do today. Nothing whatsoever. So what I did was I keep these on my desk so that I have them to remind me that sometimes there's more than one way to solve a problem. And I think too oftentimes we get stuck in trying to figure out I want it to work like this. Well, maybe the easiest way to make it work is like this, and you do something different. Joy had mentioned last week that I made a pivot in the middle of the presentation, and I did. It wasn't intentional. It was just because I'll click that didn't work, so I clicked over here and started in a different direction. Always more than one way to solve a problem. And if you remember that, that's what these two books do. They remind me all the time that there's more than one way to solve a problem. And so when I get stuck and I get my head in a place where it doesn't help, then I have to remind myself that there's more than one way to solve a problem. Because really what you're doing when you're using a computer program is you're not using the program. You're using the program to help you solve a problem, right? Don't forget that. I did a live feed earlier this week about, is it the tool or the talent? And it's always the talent. It's not the tool. The tool just simply makes it possible sometimes for me to execute the talent. Sometimes it just gets in the way. And what I'm trying to remind you of here today is that there's more than one way to solve a problem. And these sit on my desk for a reason. And the reason they sit on my desk is to remind me that there's more than one way to solve a problem. Always more than one way to solve a problem. Okay? Any questions about that? You think that was nuts to go down that path, but I think it's important that we do. All right? Y'all were pretty chatty before I got on. I want to play with backgrounds for just a little bit. I try to make a bundle of backgrounds every quarter or so. I'm due to make my next set of backgrounds. And so I want to talk about how do you make the backgrounds so that they look uniquely unique. Okay. I've actually doctored this background fairly well. You can see that I have reduced the opacity over here. And the other thing that I did was I used, look at this, I used this background over here, and I actually selected this one with the hot spot in the middle. And can you tell? So it makes my background look completely different than it did otherwise. Larry's on this morning, and so I'll talk about Larry for just a moment. I was on the phone with Larry one day discussing something, and my wife was in the grocery store, and I have Larry on the phone, my laptop on my lap, my wife's in the grocery store, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I created 25 backgrounds using Uzyme in just about no time whatsoever, probably 25 minutes or 30 minutes or so. So the question is asked right here. Does the use of the overlay make it a new image? Yes and no. From a legal standpoint, you putting an overlay over the top of a copyrighted image doesn't change the image, and that could create a problem. That's the reason why the only images that I ever use for backgrounds and for my background bundles is images that I get from Pixabay, which, by the way, I opened up Pixabay this week. Larry and I were looking for something, and we opened up Pixabay. Some of the new images in Pixabay are just awesome. I mean, just incredible looking images inside of Pixabay. And all of a sudden, I've forgotten the keyword that we used to do that with. But pretty cool new stuff, which is always being updated in Pixabay. But I use Pixabay because I know that the images are royalty free. I don't have to worry about them. So then I tweak them just a little bit so you'll never see them look like that any other place. There's another great place, and Mike's on this morning, so I won't mention this. I would have mentioned it anyhow, but with Mike on, it'll help me to remember to do that. NASA has a site full of free images. Those are images taken by the government, and so they're royalty free. And and it is amazing what you can do from some of the images that have come from outer space. It's pretty cool, and I have a whole bunch of backgrounds I've created with NASA images. So the problem is that you have to upload them one at a time, but you can do that. But I want to talk about, and you can see a little bit of the steps that I took right here. Okay, now let me show you what I did with the image that M had shared earlier, and that's this right here. You can see the only thing I did was I reduced the opacity, changed the gradient in the background, and put this overlay on there, and then blurred the overlay. Because of the angle, you're not going to get this bright spot inside of the reflection. So what I did, and I left it unblurred here so you can see it. So you can see how it turned out like that. You're not going to get the same intensity in the reflection that you would get with the original image. So what I did was I put the overlay over the top of that, and I blurred it. And we'll talk about using those overlays to accomplish that in just a minute. Okay, I went back and looked through all of the questions that have been asked in the last few weeks. I think we're pretty much caught up. We talked about moving tiny images last week. We talked about where to find pixels. I still haven't posted images in the group, and that's totally on me. Just a little bit overwhelmed at this point in time, and trying to reduce the amount of overwhelm, so I haven't been able to do that lately. And then keep in mind any other questions that you might have. I'll be glad to address those. Let's stop sharing the screen. I'm going to jump over to Uzyme. Okay, y'all ready for that? One second and we'll be ready. All right. Y'all should be seeing my screen, right? All right, this image, I looked like this when I got it, okay? Now, this is a gorgeous looking image by itself. but it's not going to make a great looking background if all I do to it when I put it on a sales page or a website or a web page or someplace like that. And so what I'm going to talk about now is I'm going to talk about modifying these so that they can be used in those kinds of places. All right. This is a nice bright look for a web page or a sales page or something like that. The problem is this is really, really noisy in this particular direction. So one of the options that you have is to take a vector image and drop this vector image over the top of it. And then reduce the opacity of this like that. And then I can write more easily on top of it. Let me show you what happens, because if I'm going to put this on a sales page or someplace like that, then I'm going to have to be able to write content on top of it. Now, if I do that and I make this white, it's a little bit easier to read than if I did it like that, right? Now we're competing, the text is competing with the background. That makes sense to everybody? So if I use the terminology, the text is competing with the background, you'll understand what I'm talking about, right? It helps a little bit when I put the overlay over the top of it. Helps a little bit. There's a couple of other things that I could do to it, but if I just don't want my text competing like this. That's challenging to do that. I can make this overlay. I can play with the colors of this overlay a little bit and be able to do that, right? But the other thing I can do, let's move this out of the way for just a second. And the problem with the black is that now it kind of obscures the image, and even though I've got the opacity turned way down on it, so I got it down to 40%, still kind of obscuring the image. So what I'm going to do instead, and I don't want to do a filter, because if I do a filter, and somebody suggested a filter, if I do a filter, let me grab a filter here. Then see what it does to my lettering. Even if I reduce the opacity of the filter, it's still laying on top of the lettering, right? So I started out with gray, Rob. That was the first color I had up, was gray. So now what I'm going to do now is, instead of all of that, I'm going to get rid of that from the background. Again, see the competition that's going on with this? All right. Exactly, Don. You can do a filter and then add the text later, and that works out really well. That's another option. Let me show you something that you can do. Okay. I'm going to go to the background over here, and I'm going to add a gradient background to this. In this case, I'm going to do this background right here. Notice nothing changed when I did that. You see that nothing's changing? Why isn't anything changing? The overlay was behind the text. Coffee cup noise. It's because it's behind the image. So what I have to do with the image now is I have to reduce the opacity of the image. Now do you see the difference? Now I did that on purpose. Let's change the color of it to that filter instead. All right. Does that make the lettering look easier to read? And that's simply the background. Now, watch what happens when I do this. I'm gonna make a stark contrast here, okay? When I'm in the middle, that looks pretty awesome, right? That's actually the one that I had before. And exactly what Don just said, the focal point becomes the text, which is really what you want. If a background image is going to be a background image, then the focal point has to be the text, not the image. The image will make the rest of everything else look awesome, but the text has to be the image, because that's what people are going to, that's getting people to take action. So I can play with this background over here. Watch what happens when I do this. See the difference? And so just playing with the background allows me to make my text stand out rather than compete with the background. And I've reduced the opacity here down to just under 80%. So I've reduced that by about 22%. But it makes a big difference. Do you see the difference that it makes? I want you to understand that this is how easy it is to create backgrounds. Now, what I can do is I can delete this. I could save that as a background. It would look awesome. I could use that on my sales pages. I could use it on my website. I could use it in places like that. And that would be fine. Then when I got ready to put text on top of it, I knew that the text wouldn't compete with it, okay? So the other thing that I can do, and sometimes you can do this in some sales pages, and some builders will allow you to put an overlay over the top of this once you get it in. So when I create my images, I create them without any overlay over the top of them, because frequently you can do that inside of the page builder. Is that clear to everybody? Does that make sense? Do you understand why I'm doing that the way that I do it? Very easy to do, and I can do the other thing that I think is pretty awesome, and that is I can do this. And again, you are playing with the perspective to accomplish whatever it is that you want to do. So that works fine for an image like this, and all is well. Let's get rid of that. Then you'll see what the background itself looked like, okay? And that's a gradient background. Avoid the pattern and the images, and either stick with solid or gradient if you're going to do that, because it will make it look a lot better when you do so. Now, if I wanted to have a cool image like this, I can put a cool image on there like that. Let me grab a different graphic here. And let's go over here. Let's just use the word winter. Oh, this is interesting. This is really interesting. Let's use this image for just a moment. I think you'll find this one kind of fun. What color is cold? Cold's always blue. This is a really interesting winter scene in the fact that it's red. I'm like, what is going on in this red image that's a winter scene? Does that confuse anybody besides me? I'm like, I don't know what to do with a red image in a winter scene. I literally don't know what to do with it. Because if I reduce the opacity like this, it's just confusing it, right? I don't like it. Yeah, I'm struggling with this image because of the way that it looks. Now, if I'm going to use a winter image, I'm going to have an issue with trying to create this, because it just doesn't go the direction I want it to go. Now, let's go back over here. Let's make it like this, okay? So now I have this as a grayscale. What do you have when you have grayscale? Shadows look awesome, by the way, in this grayscale. Let's reduce the opacity of this just a little bit. And let's go back over to our background image. And let's go to a solid color. And let's make this solid color. I want to make that a deep blue. Let's find a deep blue that we can use here. All right, let's make this the background. I'm still not liking where we're going. All right, I would have to save this image. I'd have to save this image and then apply the filter over the top of it. But that just, I don't know. I can't use the red if I'm going to use the winter scene. I just can't do it. My brain won't allow me to do that. Totally an opinion, and that's all it is an opinion. But I'm giving it to you because it's my platform. I can give you my opinion. So the red and the blue are going to compete with each other and try to create a weird, funky looking purple. So this image, I have the opacities all the way up. I'm going to make this a background. It is. The focus of it is the sun and not the fact that it's winter. And so it doesn't fit my need correctly to set the mood for that. So this is the image. Let's make sure we got the filter turned off. This is, I'm back on the original. This is the image that I took over here. Now I can have a lot of fun with this one because the focal point here really is the sun. And I can make this look more winterish, which was somebody's phrase a minute ago, by reducing the opacity of that. Now do you see what we've done? I've made this look the color that it's supposed to look. I've maintained the color of the sun. Now let's play with this one more. Let's do one more stroke on this, okay? Let's go to a gradient background. We'll have that same color at the bottom like that. What do you think? Do you see what I did? It does make my mind happier. You're exactly right. Now, I can take this color up here, make it white. That maintains the blue down here at the bottom. See? Maintains the blue at the bottom. That kind of blends into the sky. Make sense to everybody? How many of you use the background images and reduce the opacity to achieve the kind of things we're talking about right here? Because I don't want to be doing things that everybody's already doing, but I think this is something that people don't realize how easy it is to do that. And by adding a deep blue over here and maintaining the red up here, I could literally have made this with that red background up there. But I liked it better with the white than I did with the red. But all I'm doing is just changing this color here, and I'm getting completely different looks from it, right? I would love it if there was a third color in the middle of this. I just love that, but we don't have that. So, but I just think that's kind of cool. So you can play with that. That's the first thing I wanted you to see. Now let's go over here and take a look at this image right here. Okay. Any questions about that first there? Yes, art's exactly right. You could save that in various layers. You can add the pictures, reduce the opacity. You can play with that a lot. We actually did an entire webinar on that one day where we took somebody standing in the shadow and we totally changed the perspective of the light coming into the shadow based upon the layers. I wanted to try to give you something here that's fast and easy. And you know, this over here, this is just a couple of steps. And that's all I had to do was make a couple of tiny tweaks to that and made a huge difference there. But that's a great comment. It's a great comment. Yeah, you can do that. You can add another vector to add a third color. That's it gets a little more complicated. If I remove this image, let me try it. I want to try this, see if I can make this happen. So I'm going to add, as Elle has said, I'm going to add something here. And in this case, I'm going to add this. All right. I'm going to make that a golden color. Or actually, in this case, I'm going to do a bright yellow so it's easier to see. Now, let's see if we can find that same image again. We'll go back over here. Take this same image. I'm going to position that about there. And if I reduce the opacity of that, see what I'm doing? I'm doing this in an extreme fashion so you can see it. Let's blur that. Make it significantly smaller. What do you think? Bigger question is, would it have mattered whether that was in the front or the back? Makes all the difference in the world, right? Now, this is one of those things that I could have done this multiple times, made this smaller. Reduce that, and I could increase the intensity like that. Does this open up your eyes to some additional possibilities? Now, I think that's a little bit dramatic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this a little bit. Like that. All right, just a little fun with that. But I wanted you to see. Let me move that back up to the top. Reduce the opacity here just a little bit. See? Now, what we're basically doing is exactly what we did right here. Somebody, by the way, somebody asked how to make an ellipsis this week in the group. An ellipsis is just like that, okay? Just grab the side of a circle and change the perspective on the circle. So I put an ellipsis right here, rotated it to match the angle that was there, did this with it. Now that's too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blur it and increase my blur there. Still too dark, right? So now I can reduce this like that. Does that make sense? The other thing that I did with this image when M had posted it, this is the image, but notice I reduced the opacity on it. And I also played with the background here. So I made the background, and you'll see that I've got the background so that the dark part is at the bottom. All right. This white part's at the top. The dark part, can you see the background? And then I added this because there would be more shade. This would not have the same light intensity in the reflection that it has in the original, right? So I just reduced the opacity of that. Two very simple steps. Change the gradient background by reducing and then reduce the opacity of the overlaid image. When I did that, it made this look less ominous. This looked pretty ominous in the original. And you can see what I mean by that. Let me go back over here. Actually, I've got it set at 100% now. But when I do that, it looks a little more ominous in this background. But changing, and I obviously don't have the original, so the best I could do was just take the image that she had posted in the group and then be able to play with that just a little bit. But this was part of the key, was just being able to do this. Now I could duplicate this, all right, make it smaller. Fuzzier like that, until I just literally fade that interior image away, right? Everybody follow along? Any questions? This is a very, very advantageous thing to do, okay? I could, now, we've played with this just a little bit other times in the past. Let me take one more thing here and I'll show you how you can have a little bit of fun with this. I can take this and make it that color right there. I can put this back in here. I'm going to blur it. And then I'm going to reduce the opacity of it. Do you see how you can modify an image now to take something out if you want to? Add something in if you want to. Get a little bit different reflection if you want to. Or to make the image reflect that way. But sometimes don't forget that you have this little eyedropper tool right here, because this is just an awesome tool to be able to, well, let me do something here. Let me go over here. I want to show you this before, but we're going to run out of time, so I want to show you Pixabay. We had, I think the search term that we had was garden or something. But anyhow, you got these new spring colors in here. Get rid of M's image right here. Some really gorgeous images here, though. Just gorgeous images. If you like mushrooms, really cool images. Now, what could you do with this image here in the time that we have left? Anybody know? What could we do with that? Let's get our height down here to... Anybody have any guesses what we can do with this? Let's take a look at the image and see what we can learn from it. Okay. With the tricks that we've learned recently, with those tricks, we could make this mushroom right here, this red color, and everything else be grayscale, right? Can y'all do that? We could save that as a grayscale, make this one, and this one gray, and make this stand out and leave the rest of this in its original color. You can reduce, with what we've learned today, you can reduce the opacity of that. You can make this jungle back here look more jungly by, how's that for a word? Make it look more jungly. Well, lots of things you can do with this, okay? If I wanted to make this look a little spookier, I'm going to take this image right here, and I'm going to change it like that, make it a little bit smaller, rotate this just a little bit. Show my off-screen elements here. Pull that corner out like that. The blur on that. The blur look like that. Now look at that. Does that look more jungly, Elle? Just added this little overlay here, and I do this frequently. I'm sorry, that's not what I want to do. I do this frequently. And let me rotate that a little bit. and make one more. Pull that over here. Turn it like that. What do you think? Can you see how you can just add a couple little things and make things look a little bit different than they were before? Now I can even increase the opacity of my original image. All right, any questions before we go? Time for us to wrap up. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time and your attention on this Friday. Pretty simple stuff. Make sure you go and check out the Creator Studio, or the Create Studio, or Create Academy if that fits into your overall marketing expectations. Okay.